If you are doing the exact same thing that you've always done for your health and wellness journey and the scale is not budging, then this video is for you. Hey. Coach Jay here. I am owner of Temple Training and I help Christian women over 40 manage menopause, first by aligning their faith and then teaching them or helping them to learn to move and fuel so they actually enjoy this season of life. And I am super excited to see you stop through for another episode of Temple Training. And that is what I'm here to talk about: menopause, weight gain, and what we can actually do and why it happened. If you are experiencing menopause, weight gain, and it feels personal, it is not personal. Please know that you are not lazy, you are not broken, and you do not need extreme dieting to fix this. Let's talk about why menopause weight gain happens and what actually helps. Flow with me. I've got about 5 things I'd like to talk to you about today. The first one is going to be hormonal shift. It changes the way that the fat is stored. When our estrogen starts to decline, it changes the way that the fat is distributed throughout the body. Bottom line is here is that estrogen helps to regulate where the fat is stored and how insulin works. So as our estrogen declines, the fat shifts towards the abdomen. And this is what I hear all the time. An increase in obvious weight around my midsection. And when that estrogen declines, our blood sugar becomes harder to manage. And this is why that fat shows up even without eating more. Again, I am doing the same thing I've always done. I'm eating the same way I've always eaten, and the weight continues to climb. So, how do we combat that? The first thing I want you to understand is that strength training in this season of life is almost non negotiable. Muscle equals metabolism support. We want this body to become a fat burning machine. And one of the ways that we can do this is to increase the muscle mass so that we are burning more calories at rest. Another way to combat this is to eat consistent meals and allow these meals to be protein packed. This is for restoration of the muscle or repair of the muscle that we are kind of tearing down as we strength train so that it can build up. We want more skeletal muscle mass. When we become consistent in our eating, the body is prepared to utilize what we consume. So avoiding long stretches of either under eating, dieting, or fasted state does help to keep the engine running. Your body is not betraying you, it's adapting. It is adapting to the way that you're fueling it and what it has available to use. And our job is to adapt with it. Reason number 2 is chronic calorie restriction backfires. Remember, we're talking about why this weight gain happens and how we can combat it. Changing our nutrition so that we can lose weight. The go-to thing is always to restrict. And this does not help in this season of life. Eating less does not equal losing more in menopause. Years of dieting, it can lower your metabolic output. So our bodies are used to not being fueled properly. And so it tries to hold on to the fuel that it gets when it gets it. Sometimes increasing the fuel intakes helps to spark the engine a little more. I cannot tell you how many times I've had clients come in and we increase the intake. They're a little nervous, of course, because it seems counterintuitive, increasing the intake to lose weight. But that's exactly what happens. The body starts to recognize that it is not there's no scarcity here. It is able to continue to rev up that engine. Years of dieting can actually increase the stress hormone. If you know anything about cortisol, that is that it continues to increase that cortisol, which helps to create or encourages that fat storage, especially in the belly. So, how do we combat this? Eating enough, especially protein. Some of these things you're going to hear repeated. I'm hoping for emphasis. Like these are the practices that will help you to get to the very outcome goal that you're trying to achieve. So, eating less does not always equal losing weight in menopause. And how do we combat that? Eating enough. Eating enough, especially in protein space. There's been countless women walking through my door that are consuming a certain calorie intake, but how that caloric intake is broken down between protein, carbs, and fat is usually askew. And so we have to kind of change some things up to get it protein focused. We want to make sure that we're encouraging our body to consume protein. What does that protein do? It helps you to stay satiated so that you're not likely to grab snacks and things of that nature throughout the day. And again, it helps to build the muscle that you are kind of tearing down when you strength train. Combat this with eating regular meals. Again, continuously feeding the body, fueling the body for what you are trying to accomplish. Fueling your workouts instead of earning your food. We're consuming the right nutrients so that our workouts are more effective. Reason number 3, muscle loss does accelerate after a certain age. Usually that age is around 30 to 40 years old. So when we have a deficit in our muscle mass, skeletal muscle mass, it equals a slower metabolism. And this is one of the reasons why I often hear that. I'm doing the exact same thing that I've been doing, except now I'm gaining weight instead of losing weight. We really need to make strength training a priority. So, what does muscle help with? I think this is key to understand as well. It helps to regulate the blood sugar and it supports that fat loss. So, what we're doing is we're continuously putting ourselves in an environment to burn calories. Cardio alone does not preserve muscle. It should be a part of your program, but not the only part of your program. So, progressive strength training is the way to go. And what is progressive strength training? This is a program specifically designed for you, taking into account your movement patterns, your limitations, your strengths or weaknesses, and continuously increasing reps, load, time under tension so that your body can adapt and grow through a program. And this is one of the ways that I attempt training program for my clients after a movement assessment to make sure that they are being challenged in their workouts as well as progressing from that place. Lifting challenging weights is imperative. Some say, can I lift lower weights and many reps? This actually develops more of endurance, muscle endurance, than it does muscle hypertrophy or muscle gain. We, in this stage and age of life, need to make sure that we are increasing our skeletal muscle mass because one, like I mentioned before, after that age of 30 or 40, it is being depleted. And then two, because of that, we want to make sure that we're increasing. Always prioritizing protein. I think I'm going to say it like 30 more times, so bear with me. Prioritizing protein helps with this as well, because once we get into the gym, we tear down that muscle. We need to make sure that we're consuming the proper nutrients to build it back up. We are not chasing skinny here. We are protecting our strength. So, reason number 4, stress and poor sleep sabotage fat loss. Woo! Big one, because I know that it is not always ideal to get the 7 to 9 hours of sleep in. I think sometimes we have to focus on quality of sleep over hours of sleep, right? The cortisol plus poor sleep, it just equals fat storage. And so when we are getting adequate restoration during our sleep, it allows our body to process and do the things that it needs to do. Menopause, though, often disrupts sleep. So, what can we do to combat that? What happens when we are depleted in our restorative sleep is the next day it is impacted. So, your hunger hormones are increased. You're going to be the body is just well designed like that. You're going to crave carbohydrates And it also reduces your insulin sensitivity. Stress actually tells the body to hold on to what we're consuming. So, how do we combat this? Evening wind down rituals. This is to help with the restorative sleep process. We need to signal our bodies that it is time to rest and restore. Evening rituals can look different across the board. It really depends on what you respond to. So, this could be gentle movement like yoga, like stretching, like mobility, like walking. This could be simple breath work, right? Really increasing that parasympathetic nervous system through deep inhales and longer exhales. This could be prayer, really connecting spiritually to slow things down, experiencing that stillness to signal again that it is time to rest and restore. Rest is not lazy, it is stewardship over the body that God has provided to you. Reason number 5. Trying to train like you've done in the past does not always work in the present. Old rules do not apply anymore. So, and this is something that I'm learning to transition or reframe for myself. I have always, well, not always, I've been in a space for over a decade of high intensity training the majority of the days of the week. In this season of life, I'm learning to pull back from high intensity training. High intensity training every day can backfire. More is not always better. What is better is smarter training. And recovery really truly matters in this season of life. So, how do we combat this? Balance training. Balance training is where we have a significant amount of our training days or time in the gym dedicated to strength training, where we are picking a few movements, bench press, deadlift, squats, and we are progressing through these movements, increasing our load, increasing our time under tension, increasing our rep count. Low intensity movements here, okay? And then including recovery, whether that is recovery days where you are taking time off, maybe a little bit of active rest walking, or stretching, or recovery time of stretch, which should be non-negotiable after every training session. Listening to your body is imperative at this point, not punishing it because of what you saw on the scale or what you ate the other day. We really need to find a flow with proper progressive strength training. This is what actually works, okay? When we pull it all together, menopause weight loss is about supporting your hormones, building muscle, reducing stress, and fueling consistently throughout the day. This season, we really should focus on aligning, partnering with our body, not necessarily restricting or punishing what we consider bad behavior or behavior that's not aligned perfectly with our outcome goal. If this video has helped you, I invite you to stay connected. Here at Temple Training, I share practical, faith centered ways to move, to fuel, and to take care of your body in this season of life without extremes. So, subscribe below so that you're notified of the next video when it comes out. Please be sure to share with someone you know could benefit from hearing 5 reasons why menopause weight gain happens. I will see you on the next video. Have a wonderful rest of your day.